Well, if you're going to get the turkey, make sure you get all its trimmings. Here's your look at the brand new NECA Toys Toony Terrors Thanksgiving John Carver. Bring the fun of Saturday morning cartoons to your horror collection with the adorable little creeps of Toony Terrors, NECA's line of stylized horror icons. Standing approximately 6 inches tall, this John Carver figure from the Thanksgiving horror film includes axe and turkey mascot head, comes in a blister card packaging with bonus cutout backdrop. Something smells good in the oven. I wonder if Mom's cooking. Just before, of course, we get a closer look at the new Toony Terrors Thanksgiving John Carver, I'd like to thank, if I can, the folks over at NECA Toys that did provide this sample we could have a look at. Carver's going to stand at about 5 3/4 of an inch in height, or the figure's going to be about 14.5 centimeters tall. For more helpings of holiday horrors, bringing in other Toony Terrors relating to holidays. So Thanksgiving's John Carver is now being joined by My Bloody Valentine's the Minor, and here's also what the figure looks like with Halloween's Michael Myers. On this side, though, let's bring in some other John Carvers that NECA has gifted us with. First, here's what the figure looks like with the Ultimate John Carver. Followed by that, here's what the figure looks like with the Retro Cloth release. Not always remembering to do this, but to show you guys the back of the packaging. On the back, you can cut out a cardboard backdrop, providing, of course, you do have the space to do that. Once this is cut out, you can simply just put this behind your John Carver. I don't tend to do this, and probably one of the reasons why I always forget to mention it in the review, just because, again, with a lot of my Toony Terrors, I like to keep them in close quarters with one another. I just don't have enough space to put a backdrop behind them. Moving that out of the way, though, of the accessories that come included with John Carver, first the figure comes included with his axe. The axe, nicely molded here, first in brown plastic for the handle. Followed that, it's also added an additional blade. Ooh! Just kidding. The blade of the axe is nicely done here in dark gunmetal gray. It does fit into his hands, but the funny thing about it, though, is without it putting it in his hands, he actually looks like he's doing the Fonzie's thumbs up. Yeah! Yeah! Also kind of reminds me of that meme where somebody took John Rambo from Rambo 4 and they digitally removed the machine gun, so it looked like John Rambo was shooting with this thumbs up. Anyways, taking, though, the axe, stop that. Getting the axe, though, in his hand, you can either do it this way, you can also do it this way as well. It doesn't really matter which way you do it. You just line, though, the thumbs up, and you just basically slide the axe in place. Now, really, without that, I mean, it's one of those cases, too, that if you were to lose the axe, dare I say, you would unfortunately just have John Carver with his thumbs up all the time. But it does complete the look rather nicely to have now the axe in his hands. I'm sure they probably will go the route of doing a bloodied version of John Carver down the road. Similar page that they did also with Michael Myers, where we got a bloodied release. Because they could easily just add a lot of blood all over, splattered here on the blade of the axe. Of course, they could just put a heaping helping of blood all over his body and his mask as well. We'll come back to John Carver in a second. The figure also comes included with the severed head of the turkey mascot from the parade. I guess if it comes to stuffing, John Carver likes to start with the head first. We're just going to slice that off. The neat thing about it, though, is not only does it just look like a really interesting looking head from the mascot, but they did one better, as you probably have already seen for yourself. Inside is this severed head, although you can't remove it. It's all of one piece. You can even see as well, there's what's left behind, at least of the spinal cord, some really gruesome looking effects there on the bottom of this as well, painted nicely there in red. It's again, a nice little accessory piece. NECA, I believe, has also done a plush version of the turkey mascot. Love to get my hands on that as well. Just a nice little accessory. You really aren't going to be doing anything with it. It's not like you'd be able to swap it out with the existing head. I mean, what they could have always done as well is if they put a hole on the bottom of this, you could then have swapped out John Carver's head with then the head of the turkey. I don't really know why you'd want to do that, but you could get then a little bit more mileage out of this mold if they just put, like, again, a little hole on the bottom of it, and you can mix and match it with John Carver's head. In the meantime, though, it's just going to basically be sitting off to the side. Picking back up, though, John Carver, it's a nice-looking figure. The one thing about it, though, is, as you can see, he was pre-posed. And one of my biggest worries when it comes to pre-posed figures is that they don't always stand accordingly. The good thing, though, about him is that his ankles are actually on ball joints. So if you get him out of the packaging, you think immediately, oh, hey, this guy's not going to be able to stand properly. Just sort of put him down, put a little bit of weight on that, and wiggle the ankle back and forth, and you'll get a nice firm-footed plant. The figure then stands perfectly fine. No issues whatsoever. He is obviously pre-posed. One knee is bent forward like this. The other leg is pretty much stretched out at the back there. And, of course, again, he's carrying his axe. You want to just take this axe out of his hand right now. Yeah! Getting a closer look, though, at John Carver's head sculpt, we get the cleaner portrait this time around. But it's not to say, again, like if they don't do a bloody release down the road, they could give us the burnt mask that's left behind when he leaves the mask on top of the oven. Still smell that? It smells nice. The hat is non-removable, nor is the face mask, so you can't take either one of those off. But again, a nice little portrait there of John Carver's face. Very well painted, too. All of the three, depending on which one you like to collect, or hey, why not collect all three? All of the John Carvers we've gotten from NECA Toys have so far been quite good. I don't know really if they're going to be doing any more of them, because again, like we really already have, like Retro Cloth, we already now have an Ultimate release, and now we have our Toony Tears. What other territory for turkeys can they also cover? For the rest of his boiler, I mean, the irony in all this is the fact that Michael Myers, which again is a holiday horror, Valentine's, My Bloody Valentine's Day, and Minor are all wearing coveralls. Coincidence? I don't think so. The coveralls this time around are actually a little bit more of a darker blue. He does have, again, articulation, but the articulation can be very limited on this figure. We'll talk more about that in a moment. Sculpted nicely. They've got a couple of pockets there. He has his boiler, covered quite up to the top, or coveralls if you prefer, if you don't want to call them boilers. And, of course, he got himself some black gloves, black shoes as well. It's pretty simple-looking suits, and yet very effective in the movie. For the articulation on John Carver, again, it's going to be very limited because these Toony Tears don't tend to have a whole lot. The head is going to rotate, and when I say rotate, I mean I'm using it very generously. That's as far that the head can actually rotate back and forth. It looks up only by just a little bit, and it looks down that far. I know you may have blinked for a second and may have missed some of that, so we'll go back and do that again. Up, down, slightly back and forth, and you can also rotate it back and forth this way. As for the arms rotate all the way around, which again kind of adds for some hilarity because it also looks like he has body odor. I don't know. But you can also rotate his arms all the way around. The thing, unfortunately, about that, though, is while you could get his arms, in theory, up like this so he's swinging down his axe, again, he is still going to stand, but he's going to be a little bit more off-keltered. The figure has no articulation here in the waist, sadly, and the only other thing that he also has as well to his possession is ankle pivots. They move up and down more so, and that's the benefit of you as a collector, so you'd be able to stand this guy a little bit better. You can also rock the ankle back and forth, and really, you could rotate it, although you're only going to be able to rotate it so far. Good looking figure, though, and being a big fan of Thanksgiving, super excited for the idea that we are getting ourselves Thanksgiving too. Actually, just one thing before I start to get into the spiel of wrapping up this review. The only other thing I would also say, too, is that the few little times that I've actually taken the axe and put it in Carver's hands, it has looked like either it's left behind the paint from inside his gloves or it's scraped away some of the paint on the handle. So again, the more times that you do this, the more often perhaps it's probably going to end up happening to you. But yeah, you just want to be careful that it's not going to scrape too much of the paint off. So just getting that into his hands. You can bring the arms up again if you wanted to. But again, I think to do something similar to this, you may want to get yourself a display stand. Or again, just want to make sure that the feet are nicely angled. Yeah, still works. Still works. Probably not going to have the figure displayed like that because it's blocking off such a stellar looking sculpt. Really happy with how this one turned out. This guy's going to go nicely on display. If I can get him to stand here. Nicely on display with the other holiday horrors that NECA's done so far for the Toony Terrors line. At the time that John Carver from the Toony Terrors line is rotating on the rotisserie, the figure doesn't seem to be available online yet. Most of the sites seem to have a release date of May 2024. I know what you're thinking. It is May 2024. A little later into May, I think I mean. So the figure may not be available everywhere, although I think some people have already picked up John Carver's in local retail stores. You can let me know if you've had similar luck yourself. I've got the figure right now displayed with his axe way up in the sky, about to swing down on someone. Can still be effectively pulled off without even using a display stand. The benefit, though, even though the figure doesn't have one, you can also use, being that there are universal holes in the bottoms of his boots, you can use a display stand from another company. NECA's also done, of course, many releases of their display stands. You can also use those as well. Still, it's kind of surprised, though, that with the turkey head, no one thought to maybe put a hole on the bottom of that. So if you wanted to swap out with John Carver, although they probably would have had to do a little bit of tweaking just by how high his collar is anyways. Probably wouldn't have been able to fit the mascot turkey head. But just as a little side thing I was thinking about when I was looking at the turkey, I'm thinking, yeah, they probably could have put a hole on the bottom of that, but there's probably a little bit more involved than me just simply saying that. What do you guys think of the figure? Let me know down below in the comments section. How much did you enjoy Thanksgiving? I loved the movie and can't wait for a sequel. Big thank you again to the folks over at NECA Toys that did come through and provide the sample, the brand new Thanksgiving Toony Tears John Carver, which now wraps up the trilogy, the trifecta, the triforce of John Carvers, if you will. Having already looked at the Ultimate release, then looked at the Retro Cloth, both of them, if you haven't already watched those reviews, are already available on this channel. Shameless plug, shameless plug, shameless plug. But also, If you guys want to check out anything else that I've done for NECA Toony tears, popping up the very end of this video, not only will be on one corner, all my NECA reviews, on the adjacent corner, all my Toony tear reviews. So, again, if you have a little bit of time to kill, Mom's still cooking away in the oven. You can also, again, always, check out those playlists. And we'll definitely have a lot more NECA reviews coming your way. So as always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.